Abdelaziz Bouteflika is an Algerian politician who served as president of Algeria for almost 20 years, from 1999 to his resignation in 2019. As president, he presided over the end of the bloody Algerian civil war in 2002 when he took over the project of L'Amin Zéro, and he ended emergency rule in February 2011 amidst regional unrest prior to becoming president. He served as Minister of Foreign Affairs from 1963 until 1979 and as President of the United Nations General Assembly for a one-year term from 1974. Bouteflika resigned on 2 April 2019 after months of mass protests. With nearly 20 years in power, he was the longest-serving head of state of Algeria. Abdelaziz Bouteflika was born on 2 March 1937 in Oujda, French Protectorate in Morocco. He is the son of Mansouriya Ghezlaoui and Ahmed Bouteflika from Tlemcen, Algeria. He has 3 half-sisters. Said Bouteflika, 20 years his junior, would later be appointed special counselor to his brother in 1999. Unlike Said, who was raised mostly in Tlemcen, Abdelaziz grew up in Oujda, where his father had emigrated as a youngster. The son of a Zawa sheikh, he was well versed in the Quran. He successively attended 3 schools in Oujda, Sidi Ziana, El Hosniya, and Abdel Momen high schools, where he reportedly excelled academically. He was also affiliated with Qadiriya Zawa in Oujda. In 1956, Bouteflika went to the village of Ould Amer near Tlemcen and subsequently joined, at the age of 19, the National Liberation Army, which was a military branch of the National Liberation Front. He received his military education at the École des Cadres in Dar el Kebdani, Morocco. In 1957-1958, he was designated a controller of Willevi, making reports on the conditions at the Moroccan border and in West Algeria, but later became the administrative secretary of Houari Boumediene. He became one of his closest collaborators and a core member of his Oujda group. 12 in 1960, he was assigned with leading the Malian front in the Algerian south and became known with his nom de guerre of Abdelkader al-Mali, which has survived until today. In 1962, at the arrival of independence, he aligned with Boumediene and the border armies in support of Ahmed Ben Bella against the Provisional Government of the Algerian Republic. After independence in 1962, Bouteflika became deputy for Tlemcen in the Constituent Assembly and Minister for Youth and Sport in the government led by Ahmed Ben Bella. The following year, he was appointed as Minister for Foreign Affairs. He was later a prime mover in the military coup led by Houari Boumediene that overthrew Ben Bella. On 19 June 1965, Bouteflika continued as Minister for Foreign Affairs until the death of President Boumediene in 1978. He has also served as President of the United Nations General Assembly in 1974 and of the 7th Special Session in 1975. While in these posts he came in for severe criticism from the United States for what it regarded as politically partisan decisions. Algeria at this time was a leader of the Non-Aligned Nations movement. He discussed there with Henry Kissinger in the first talk between US and Algerian officials since the diplomatic relations between these two countries have resumed. In 1981, he was sued for having stolen Algerian embassy's money between 1965 and 1979. On 8 August 1983, Bouteflika was convicted by the Court of Financial Auditors and found guilty of having fraudulently taken 60 million dinars during his diplomatic career. In his defense, Bouteflika said that he reserved that money to build a new building for the Foreign Affairs Ministry, but the court judged his argument as fallacious. In 1979, just after the death of Boumediene, Bouteflika reimbursed 12,212,875.81 dinars out of the 70 million dinars that was deposited in a Swiss bank. Although Bouteflika was granted amnesty by President Charlie Ben-Jedid, his colleagues Senouchi and Bourjagji were jailed. After the amnesty, Bouteflika was given back his diplomatic passport, a villa where he used to live but did not own, and all his debt was erased. He never paid back the money he reserved for a new Foreign Affairs Ministry's building. Following Boumedienne's unexpected death in 1978, Bouteflika was seen as one of the two main candidates to succeed the powerful president. Bouteflika was thought to represent the party's right wing, that was more open to economic reform and rapprochement with the West. Colonel Mohammad Salah Yayoui represented the Boumediennist left wing. In the end, the military opted for a compromise candidate, the senior army colonel Charlie Benjedid. Bouteflika was reassigned the role of Minister of State, but successively lost power as Benjedid's policies of the Boumediennization marginalized the old guard. After 6 years abroad, the army brought him back to the Central Committee of the FLN in 1989. After the country had entered a troubled period of unrest and disorganized attempts at reform. With power struggles Bouteflika